It is 2019. In Cincinnati, a 58-year-old woman named Sandra sat down with her financial advisor. She saved $620,000. Her employer's pension took effect at 65, and her Social Security at 67. The consultant calculated the numbers, leaned back, and told her she looked great on paper. She retired at 65. For a while. Then in 2022, inflation reached 9.1%. Her grocery bill rose 18%. Her Medicare premiums rose. Her prescription fee went up. She began withdrawing a larger percentage of her savings than planned, and the spreadsheets her advisors created in 2019 began disappearing in real time. By 2026, Sandra was 65, watching her account balance shrink and looking down for another 20 years, with no clear financial path through them. Sandra is not a cautionary tale about bad decisions. She followed the rules. She believed the numbers. She did. What she never got was an honest conversation about two forces that had been quietly reneging on her plans. If you are between 45 and 65, this video is for you. We'll name these two forces, show you their real costs, and give you a specific plan to fight back before they move forward. Stay with me. Why retirement plans have become more difficult. Most retirement negotiations begin in the wrong place. The focus is on the market crash, choosing the right fund to achieve the target savings figure. These concerns are not wrong, but they are incomplete, and the gap between what people fear and what actually undermines retirement plans is where the video lies. Two different forces are bad for your retirement at the same time, and the danger is that they nourish each other. Most retirement calculators simulate only one, which is why so many predictions look reliable on paper and collapse within 4 years. The first force is inflation. Not just headline numbers, but structural and persistent erosion that has quietly reduced what you can buy for every dollar for decades. The second advantage is the risk of longevity, and the financial reality of living longer than money is manageable. No longer than you want, longer than you planned. When these two forces hit retirement portfolios at the same time, researchers call it double erosion. Your money buys fewer things a year, and you need it to live a few more years than you initially calculated. This is the enemy of video. This is where numbers are no longer abstract. Yahoo Financial Analysis shows that, as of the beginning of 2026, core inflation is running at a rate of 2.5% a year, and the CPI index has climbed to 90% of historical levels, compared with the 9.1% shock in 2022. The 2.5% figure seems calm, but the problem is that inflation does not need to be too sharp to cause serious damage. It just needs to be consistent and long enough. Run compound math. It erodes 2.5% a year for 20 years, a perfectly normal retirement period in which you lose nearly 40% of your actual purchasing power. You expect a pension check of $4,000 a month in 2026 to buy what you bought today for $2,440. By 2046, the numbers on the checks remained unchanged. The life it can finance is shrinking. That was before healthcare inflation entered the market, and it was running at a completely different rate. It had its own part because it was profitable. Now, on the longevity floor, the latest data from the CDC confirm that the average age for 65-year-olds will reach 85, making 20 years of retirement a baseline, rather than some marginal cases. The 2025 TR report found that only 32% correctly estimated life expectancy at age 65. Others are speculating about a bear market. The 2025 Corebridge Financial Survey found that 50% of Americans thought they could reach 100, and 49% said they really wanted to. This is a retirement age of 35. Most people try to finance 35 years of retirement with 15 or 20 years of savings. The average American now saves $532,000 $291 for retirement, according to Empower Personal Dashboard data. According to Kipling, the amount Americans believe they really need to retire comfortably jumped from $1.26 million in 2025 to $1.46 million in 2026, an increase of $200,000 a year. The median worker has not yet covered half the gap, and the window to close it is narrowing. Break down the factors that actually affect your retirement. Inflation is used as a word, when inflation is actually three different things that impact your retirement life in three different directions. Understanding differences is important because each requires a different response. The first level is general CPI inflation, the headline number, which is currently 2.4% to 2.5% per year. As of early 2026, this is the baseline erosion of retiree spending, groceries, utilities, transportation, day-to-day services. It is not worrisome in itself, but it has never stopped, quietly reuniting for decades. The second level is where the picture changes. HealthView Services released a report on retirement medical expenses data for 2026 in February this year, and the numbers are worth reading slowly. Long-term medical inflation is expected to be 5.8% per year. This is more than twice the general CPI. By contrast, Social Security COCE is expected to rise 2.4%. The gap between the two figures, 5.8 to 2.4%, widens every year in the spending categories that account for the largest share of the retirement budget. The report goes further. For a healthy 65-year-old couple with traditional Medicare, if you add up BD, Medigap plan, G, dental, and out-of-pocket expenses, the total annual medical cost in the first year starts at $17,003 and climbs to $55,513 by age 85. During retirement, lifetime healthcare costs reach $661,812 today and $955,411 in the future. For a couple living in Missouri, the figure was $1,053,252. Medical costs are not discretionary. You can skip the holidays. You can't skip cardiologists. Here is an article that links healthcare directly to Social Security. The HealthView Services report calculates that couples with an average age of 65 are expected to receive lifetime Social Security benefits totaling $802,233. Of that, 84% will be used to cover projected lifetime medical costs. For a 55-year-old couple who retired for 10 years, that figure rose to 104% of their projected Social Security benefits, 129% of 45-year-olds. Put simply, for today's 45-year-olds, math suggests that every dollar of Social Security they will receive may not be enough to pay for healthcare alone, let alone finance retirement. The third level is what planners call invisible inflation, which most pre-retirement plans ignore entirely. Retirees often find that their actual spending in the first decade is higher than expected, not lower. Travel, helping adult children make down payments or pay tuition, home repairs, unexpected replacements. These are real budget needs that are rarely captured accurately in spreadsheets created before retirement. Now Robert and Patricia, 64 and 62, are retiring in Texas. Robert ended his career in 2022, totaling $780,000 in their 401k savings account. Patricia is still generating part-time income, and starting in 2024, they expect comprehensive Social Security to be about $3,800 a month. Their financial advisors put them in the top quarter of retirement plans. What the plan does not take into account is the inflation shock of 2022, which has dealt a heavy blow to their grocery and energy bills. It did not follow Patricia's 2023 diagnosis of type 2 diabetes, which increased out-of-pocket medical costs by $600 a month. That doesn't take into account Robert's decision to help his daughter pay the down payment. A perfectly reasonable family choice for any parent. By early 2026, they will withdraw money from their savings at a rate marked by Morningstar above their safe withdrawal threshold. Their advisors changed the retirement track from 92 to 86. Robert is 64. 4 years after retirement, that number was rewritten. Robert and Patricia did not fail. They also hit 3 things that the standard retirement model cannot absorb: structural inflation, soaring healthcare costs associated with real diagnosis, and household financial decisions. The problem has never been discipline. The problem is the model they get. Longevity risk is part of the conversation about changing seats, and the discomfort is worth sitting for a while, because it is one of the most expensive blind spots in retirement plans. The 2025 TR report on retirement deadlines found that 70% of those who overestimated life expectancy at age 65 expected to live at least 90 years. Most financial plans for these people, however, revolve around a shorter timeline. The gap between people's life expectancy and how long their money will last is one of the most common and hidden failures in retirement finance. Run the actual numbers. Retiring $800,000 at age 65, well above the national median, and withdrawing at a standard interest rate of 4%, means withdrawing $32,000 a year from the portfolio in the first year, and then adjusting upward annually for inflation. The design life of the model is about 30 years. On paper, that is right. But the 4% rule, derived from a 1994 study, was calibrated as a world in which different interest rate structures, different healthcare trajectories, and life expectancy tables no longer describe who really sits across from financial advisors today. Morningstar 2025 Retirement Income Survey shows that the initial withdrawal rate of retirees in 2026 is not higher than 3.9%. Era Finance lowered it to 3.7%. to 3.9%, depending on portfolio composition and current market conditions. At 3.7%, $800,000 generates $29,600 a year. The portfolio generates $2,467 a month. Add in the average Social Security benefits for retired workers in 2025, which is about $1,900 a month, and total monthly income is just under $4,400 before adding in medical, pre-tax, and any unexpected costs. For most American families, retirement of $4,400 a month is unsettling. That is a limited question. Each additional year of life, beyond the plan's assumptions, not only consumes more assets, the dollars were spent after further inflation reduced their purchases. Since the retirement date in 2026, the 88-year-old cash withdrawal fund has experienced 23 years of compound inflation. The annual purchasing power of these dollars is 2.5%, accounting for about 56% of today's purchasing power. You need more money each year to live the same life, and you buy less for every dollar in your portfolio. This is the double erosion of synchronous operation. Now consider Margaret, 71, who lives in Florida, whose late husband had a plan they considered prudent. They retire at 65, save $560,000, and pay $1,100 a month in defined benefit pensions and $1,650 in Social Security. She lives a modest life, drives a used car, and avoids expensive habits. None of this seems reckless. She lost her husband at 68, leaving her family with $1,400 a month in Social Security, a loss that no financial plan could fully foresee, but hit fixed income retirees with devastating efficiency. At 70, she needed $1,200 a month in part part-time family support. Her $1,100 monthly pension, without cost of living adjustments, has been quietly depreciating since retirement. In 2026, $1,100 now buys $870 of what you buy today. At 71, she still has about $280,000 in her account. Her financial advisor is having a conversation with her that she never expected. At this stage, Margaret plans to retire. She just never planned for 25 or 30 years, running at a fixed income bottom line, inflation falling year after year, and there is no compensation mechanism. Change 2032 clock for the entire calculation. For the next few minutes, remember one number: 28%. If Congress doesn't act. That is what the Congressional Budget Office now forecasts for automatic cuts in Social Security benefits in 2032. 6 years from today. Nor is the Congressional Budget Office a fringe source. It is the nonpartisan budget arm of the U.S. government, and the February 2026 update brought the exhaustion date forward by a full year, while the Social Security trustee predicted the exhaustion date only a few months ago. The trustee's June 2025 report set the wastage rate of OASI Trust at 2033. The latest news released by the Congressional Budget Office in February 2026 postponed the date to 2032. Once the trust runs out, the system can only pay benefits from the upcoming payroll tax revenue, which accounts for about 72% of the estimated debt. That calculation resulted in an automatic across-the-board cut of about 28% for the average retiree, now making $1,900 a month. A 28% reduction would mean a monthly loss of about $532. That figure, more than $6,300 a year, has disappeared. The total impact of couples losing benefits is $18,400 a year, according to Yahoo Finance. Proposals currently circulating in Congress include gradually raising the retirement age for people over 62 to 70 from 2026, which means testing benefits for high-income people and adjusting the way Coke formulas are calculated. Each of these changes means that the Social Security benefits shown on your current bill may not be the benefits you actually receive. The full retirement age for those who turn 62 in 2026 is set at 67, according to the Social Security Administration. A proposal to push the ceiling to 70 by 2037 is under discussion for the current 45-year-old audience. This is not a distant political abstraction. This directly changes when you can get full benefits as part of any retirement plan. Currently under development, the combination of a potential 28% benefit cut and a changing full retirement age will not only reduce one aspect of your retirement income, it reorganizes the foundation on which most American retirement plans depend, and those who take that into account now have a planning window that will close in 2032. How the hell did you manage all this? Everything in the first 15 minutes of the video was answered. None of this math is fixed. Over the next 20 years, those in good financial shape will be those who update their assumptions before the system forces them to do so. Here are the facts. First, readjust the exit rate. If your retirement plan is based on about 4%, that number needs to be carefully reconsidered. Morningstar current guidance believes that the safe start exit rate of retirees in 2026 is 3.9%. ERA Financial's study puts it at 3.7% to 3.9%, depending on portfolio composition and conditions. For a $1 million portfolio over 30 years, the difference between 4% and 3.7% is not a rounding error. It is a portfolio survival gap that has been growing for decades. The income sequence at the beginning of retirement is more important than most people realize. retiring in a falling market, and exiting at 4% could permanently damage the portfolio in ways that may not be fully repaired for years to come. Many advisors now use dynamic callbacks, fewer in bad years, and slightly more in strong ones, rather than applying fixed percentages, regardless of market conditions. Second, bring healthcare into your budget line at your own inflation rate. The inclusion of healthcare in the total household budget hides the real risk exposure, because inflation in healthcare is 5.8%, compared with 2.5% for the rest of the budget. HealthView Services reported in 2026 that by age 85, healthcare costs for people 65 climbed from $17,003 a year to $55,513 during full retirement. Lifetime costs totaled $661,812 in today's dollars and $955,411 in future value for anyone who retires in this environment. A health savings account or independent investment account set up specifically for health insurance is no longer an option. Third, the depletion day calculated in 2032 is approaching the timing of Social Security. Deferring from 62 to 70 still increases benefits by as much as 76%, and deferrals beyond full retirement age increase by 8% a year, with no market risk, in an environment of uncertain returns. The guarantee of an annual growth rate of 8% is a strong reason for patience, but when a 28% benefit cut is likely 6 years from now, deferring to maximize benefits and then reducing benefits requires a different model than deferring in a well-funded system. The right choice depends on health, other sources of income, and life expectancy. Crucially, the decision should be deliberate, not a default based on rules of thumb. Before the 2032 forecast, Treasury inflation-protected securities. Bonds within annual contribution limits. Dividend growth stocks, whose dividends have historically been synchronized with inflation, and time-adjustable rental income are the cornerstones of the anti-inflation income base. Margaret's fixed pension is a cautionary tale. Nominal payments remain stable every month, while inflation slowly reduced its real value from $1,100 to $870 in today's purchasing power, without a built-in adjustment mechanism. If fixed pensions anchor your retirement income, building inflation-sensitive assets next to them is not a bonus strategy. This is structural protection against known persistent losses. Fifth, plan for 95. Even if you don't expect to be there, the downside of retirement at 35 and death at 82 is that you save. Running away alive at 83 is quite another matter, given that 50% of Americans believe they can reach 100, and that medical advances are improving their ability to survive. In the earliest end of life conditions in history, the asymmetry between the two outcomes clearly points to planning longer and building buffers. What does all this mean to you now? After 20 minutes of data, case studies, and percentages, here is what this article actually says. This is not related to exit rates, CBO forecasts, or HealthView Services reports. All this is information. The real theme of the video is that many people ages 45 to 65 look at their savings with low levels of financial anxiety and wonder if that is enough. That feeling is becoming a reality. Retirement math is really getting harder. Longer lifespans and higher annual costs. Inflation is structural, and one T-stop between your 70s and 85th birthday. Social Security is facing a solvency deadline, and the government's own budget office is just a year ahead of schedule. Medical costs are climbing at twice the rate of Coca-Cola's adjustment, which aims to keep up with rising medical costs. Premiums related to Part D drugs have risen 50% since the Inflation Reduction Act was passed in 2022. According to HealthView Services report, Sandra, Robert and Patricia, Margaret. None of them made reckless choices. They follow traditional planning advice, believe in the numbers shown, and build their futures on outdated assumptions. The 4% rule came from a 1994 study. The Social Security framework is designed for people with different life expectancy tables. The fixed pension structure that underpins a generational retirement plan was never built to survive 3 decades of 5.8% healthcare inflation. The people who pass the well aren't the ones with the most money. They run updated numbers, not inherited ones. They are paragons of healthcare. They tested their plans under 3.7% pressure, not 4%. 2032 will be included in the decision on Social Security filing. The income they generate will change with inflation, not sit back. This is by age, because the same information is presented differently, depending on where you are on the timeline. At 45, about 20 years before the standard retirement age, deliberate use of this window can bridge the seemingly impossible gap with 60. The same math erodes purchasing power within 20 years, and when applied in the other direction, wealth accumulates within 20 years. At 55, the window was tighter, but the numbers were more specific. You may know your general Social Security benefits. You know if pensions exist and what they pay. You can now make real predictions, not estimates. The difference between planning and guessing, between the ages of 62 and 65. The decisions you make now will have complex consequences over the next 25 to 30 years. When to apply for Social Security, how to handle coverage in the years between retirement and Medicare eligibility, and how to structure withdrawals in the first 5 years. Choices that don't just affect next year's budget. They set the trajectory for what follows. Last number, $1.27 trillion. This is currently unfunded debt in the US public pension system, although the Equal Institute calls it a strong market rate of return, bringing the average capital adequacy ratio to 82.5% in 2025, according to Milliman. By 2025, the fund availability rate of welfare plans, set by the top 100 enterprises, was 108.1%. These are really positive numbers, but the whole system is under pressure, not affluence, and the gap between what it provides and the actual cost of 30 years of retirement is a gap that needs to be bridged for everyone. The safety net is real. They're just not as wide as the documents suggest. Build your retirement around this reality, not around a version that assumes everything is exactly as expected. Run the updated numbers. Make healthcare your own category and model it at your own inflation rate. Stress test exit rate in a world more expensive than your original planning assumptions. Plan for the real possibility that you will live longer than life expectancy. If both things turn out to be true, and the data increasingly show they will, the people who plan for them will be fine. Those who do not will have ongoing conversations with Margaret's financial advisors. You look too far. That puts you ahead. Use it.